Alright, so I'm going to try something a little bit different this time. I do a lot of mica painting for dragon and fantasy sculptures. I've done another tumbler where I did a Jack card. I think the Joker's a lot more appealing. A lot of people like the Joker. I normally use this speedball metal leafing adhesive and paint whichever area I'm going to work on, let it dry, and then come back and apply my mica. I'm going to try something a little bit different. This Elaine's Tack It Over and Over is really popular with a lot of different crafting techniques. It's a little thicker, so I am going to dilute it with just a touch of water. This is really runny, and it sometimes gets in areas I don't really mean for it to be at that point in time. So I'm hoping that the Elaine's will help the mica kind of stay in concentrated areas and these little fine details. I don't know what I'm getting myself into with this. There's a lot of details in the Joker's clothing. I'm just going to do my best to use these colors and make him look like your standard Joker. So after I mix things up and come back, I'm going to show you what it looks like when I paint and then let it dry, and then come back and put mica on it. Hopefully, this is going to turn out looking pretty cool. See you in just a little bit. Okay, so you can see where I've already mixed up some of the Elaine's Tack It Over and Over with a couple drops of water. What I'm trying to accomplish is a sticky adhesive medium that's not as runny as the speedball, but not as thick as the Elaine's is when it comes out of the container. I think I've got down a pretty good mixture. Now the fun part is trying to follow only certain parts of the Joker's pants. And I do try to get this in a 3D fashion with all the curves. When this dries, just like the speedball, it will be clear, just tacky. Okay, so I've picked the areas that I'm going to choose one color for. I've got to let this dry now. This is probably going to take 15 or 20 minutes, so I'm going to go off camera again. There'll probably be a lot of that stop and start, but I will edit it all together a little more uniform and nice to watch, or at least I'll try. And we'll see what this looks like with this new adhesive. Everything's dry now. As you can see, it is clear, kind of shiny where your glue is applied. The chrome mica I'm using is just labeled for nail art off Amazon, not really a specific brand, and I have found that it stands out really nicely on black backgrounds and make some really cool artwork. I will try to provide a link if I can dig up a good one for you. I've actually purchased several of them. For me, it's a little easier to do these in sections with the glue. The mica is so fine, it kind of makes dust clouds as you brush against the surface, and it will get in other areas that you don't particularly want that color. It's a lot easier to wipe off with these little alcohol wipes if you don't have the glue adhesive in that area. I don't buy super expensive paintbrushes for this. In a sense, you're methodically destroying them. You're almost burnishing the mica in with a lot of abrasive back and forth movements. So after a few times, the brush will be kind of disfigured and it's pretty hard to get nice clean lines, and you basically just want to throw it away. I think like a 20 or 30 pack of these is about $8 off Amazon. Nothing terribly fancy, but don't get one so cheap that the little hairs or bristles are falling out either. You'd be sitting there with tweezers trying to dig that off of your project, and that certainly wouldn't be any fun. Well, so far I'm really pleased with how the tack it over and over is working. It looks like it is actually hanging on to the mica how I had hoped. You can see a couple of areas where the mica's gone off onto the background a little bit. That's what I mean by kind of like a little dust cloud. Those are some of the areas that I'm going to come back and clean up. There's no sense in doing it while you're still applying certain colors. You might as well wait till you're done and then clean up the mess. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is step outside, and I'm going to use a regular electronic duster can like this one and just sort of blow off the little loose bits of mica, and I'll pick my next area I want to work on and apply the Elaine's, tack it over and over there, let it dry, and come back and paint that. This is sort of a long drawn out process. It may not be for everybody, but I really enjoy how it looks when it's all done. So hopefully as I edit this video together and show you what it looks like, somebody else out there will think it's pretty cool and gain something from all this. The next layer of the tack it again is dry. I'm doing some highlight areas, and I'm not real sure which one of these two colors I want to use. I think it's going to be the more purple one. So I'm going to do his little belt there in this bright pink. and see what I think about that. I apologize about the background noise. That's an exhaust fan. I have some resin drying on the other side of the room, so I am trying to blow all the fumes out of the room through an open window, and so we get to hear street traffic and dogs. Fun, fun. That one is definitely almost a fluorescent pink. So when I'm going to change a color, I'll take that brush, and I have a little plastic shot glass with some 91% isopropyl alcohol, and I'll just wipe it off on a baby wipe. It dries pretty quick, just a few seconds, and I can switch a color. If you're wondering how long it takes for me to finish a piece like this, depending on the detail, how many colors I use, and how much time I have when I sit down and start, is really what determines that. I've had some take a week because I only had an hour here and there. I think, though, on average, my dragons take me about 8 hours to finish. There is a mild difference in color there, and I do like this second one a little bit better for this particular application. I've been thinking about the actual back side of this card here, and what color should I make it? This particular mold, all the lines are actually inset where I had done the purple before I started the video. And the last time I did one of these, and I came back and I tried to make the top flat part of the card a different color, a lot of mica fell down inside of that crevice and kind of muddled up the color I had put in the backdrop. So I'm actually thinking of trying a colored wax for that won't be dry and loose and fall down in there, and it would give it a different texture and I think help the Joker stand out a little bit. I could be wrong, but I think we'll try that for this video and see how that turns out. When I first thought of this project, I had a lot of these molds by this company. They're by Zuri. They put out some really fine quality molds that can be used for baking or clay or resin. They have a lot of fantasy themed characters that are really cool that nobody else has. And I really like these playing cards and thought, gee, you know, a lot of people sit down to play cards on the weekend, and it'd be pretty cool if you had one of these decorated on a tumbler. And I like to watch YouTube crafters, and one of my favorite is Luxinda Swirl. And about a month after I did my first tumbler with a card on it, I found her video where she did a Zuri mold with an owl on a tumbler, and it was awesome. So I found that kind of funny. It was just an accident, but totally she did that way before me. I just didn't know. And I have seen other crafters do application of mica onto resin molds as well. Resin painting, if that's what you want to call it. This is not my original idea or anything like that. I just think it's pretty cool. And resin's very slick, so it's kind of hard to find something that will actually stick to it if you try to paint it. And this was one method I saw Steve McDonald try, another YouTuber that I follow, and I thought it was really cool. So that's where I first saw this. If you haven't checked them out, you need to check both of them out. They're great crafters, and they have a lot of wonderful information to share. You can definitely see where this pink mica is traveling and getting all on the backdrop of the card. Some of that will blow off when I dust it with the dusting can, but what doesn't, I will actually clean up with these alcohol pads and a toothpick. It helps neaten it up when you're all done. Let's see, I got a couple more spots and then I'm on to the next section. All right, that is a lot of bright fuchsia, magenta, pinkish color. I don't think I'll be adding a whole lot more of that. I'm going to go ahead and take this off camera, blow off the excess, and find the next area to put the Elaines on and let it dry, and I'll come back. I just don't want to bore you guys to death with watching me paint on a rather translucent glue and then having it dry, so I'll just bring you back to show you some of the technique and what it's looking like as I move along. See you in a little bit. I'm back for the next color. This one's going to start treading into some of the more tricky areas. There's a lot of fine detail on his chest. Some of it I would love to come back and highlight, but I just don't think I have a steady enough hand for that. So I'm just going to hope for the best that it looks okay just done in this blue. Well, I hope you can see some of the glitter and shine. I don't think cameras ever catch some of the sheen you get off of anything metallic quite the same as the human eye. But I will try to light this all up at the end as best as possible and show you what it's coming out like. I'm going to go ahead and blow this off again, and I'm going to start with the light blue. You may notice that I'm coming back and touching up a couple little oddball things, like I've added some color up here on his wand. Just doing a little bit of touch up here and there. That is a side note that if you notice an area that isn't dark enough, like you didn't get enough mica for coverage, you can go over it with the Elaine's, tack it again and let it dry one more time, and then reapply the mica to deepen that color. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is fill in a couple spots. Like I think I'm going to turn these flowers into this color blue, and all the parts of the skull I'm going to make silver and the crown gold. And I need to do one more color here, and I think I have chosen the really bright green for the word Joker. So I will bring you back after I've done a few touch-ups, and we'll finish it up with the touching up with the alcohol pads before I clear coat it. Now I'm going to show you how I do a little bit of cleanup. You see I've come back and finished all the little details. So I can get in a sharp pointer, I use a toothpick inside one of these alcohol wipes, and I just kind of trace my edges. You will definitely pick up some of the loose mica that has stuck to the surface. Regardless of glue or not, it is a very fine dust. It will stick. You can see how much mica is actually on the surface. I'm going to go through and use up all the clean little points of this wipe, and then I'll swap it out for another one. And I'll do this till I'm satisfied that the edges are cleaned up and everything looks at least as crisp as I can get it. This particular wax is pretty dense. If you do use it, you don't need to put a whole lot on your brushes. You can use a finger to highlight areas with this stuff. It's pretty cool. It dries pretty quick once you've got it on a surface. Alright, I got a couple of touch-up spots I'm going to hit, and then I'm going to clear coat it. And when I come back, I'll have a tumbler ready to set it on, just to show you what it looks like at that point, and explain what some of the other adhesives I use to do that are.